What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Tribe of Millionaires podcast from GoBundance. I'm your host, Jamie Gruber. And today I had a GoBundance brother named Bernard Pierson, who I got to meet down in Miami at an event we did there for Bitcoin. Went to the Bitcoin conference, and we stayed an extra day. We rented yachts. We went out on the water. A bunch of us got together, and it was fantastic. And he and I had a chance to really sit and bond and chat about, I remembered in this episode, you'll see it, about we both have two sons. At the time, his second was on the way, about to be born. Both of us have a kid named Sebastian. We just bonded over these fun facts. But he's got a great and compelling story. He's a U.S. resident, born in the United States, went back to Nicaragua when the country was stable enough to do so as a young person, 6 years old, and then came back to the U.S. for college. And he's so passionate and purposeful around what's going on in Latin American countries, how he can help Latin American investors now invest in U.S. interests. And he's built a heck of a portfolio and a heck of a life, really being purposeful, which is, you probably hear this from me time and time again on this episode, on this podcast. I'm so, interested in folks that are doing things that are on purpose. I feel like the highest levels of success are gotten by people who are leaning into what they feel is the purpose of what their life is about. So I love this episode. I hope you really enjoy what Bernard puts out there. Be sure to subscribe, like, comment on this episode. Let us know what you think. But otherwise, enjoy my buddy Bernard Pierson. Bernard Pierson, welcome, brother.
Thanks for having me here, Jamie, brother. This is awesome.
Of course. We talked a bit about Chris Ryan, the guy who runs GoBundance, and he gave you a bunch of other names like Barry, Bernard, Beatrice.
Yep. He called out on me a few times at that mastermind, and he got every name except mine. All the names started with the B, but he never said Bernard. He always it was Brandon. Brandon was his favorite one for some reason.
And he did it like with love. I remember there was like a somber moment, like, if I'm going to talk to Brandon, we're all like, sure, yeah.
So then he asked, "Is there anything GoBundance could have been better?" Yeah. And that's so I got my chance to raise my hand and I said, "I have a good idea. We can start working on getting names better, on getting names right."
Exactly. Oh, it was funny. That was fun. That was a good time. So let's get the story of Bernard, Brandon, whatever your name is. Let's get the story of Bernard, the backstory. You've got a great story, really interesting. There's a lot of depth there. So just kind of roll with it. Give us the 5-7 minute version of you and we'll go from there.
All right, cool. So I live in Miami, Florida, warm Miami, Florida. I was born here. I've lived here most of my life. My parents were actually living here when I was born. And that's the reason I was born here back in the 80s. My parents are originally from Nicaragua. I have 3 passports: Nicaragua, France, and US. So I moved to Nicaragua when I was 6 with my parents. They moved back because, they had been here because they fled out of the country. The country was just not in a good situation politically. There was a war. There was a lot of things not going right with the country at the time, right? And they just came here to the US to look for a better life and then seeking asylum and all that. So then when things got better, they moved back. So that's the reason I grew up in Nicaragua most of my life, at least high school and middle school and all that. And when I was 18 and graduated high school, I came back to the US to study for college and so on. And when I graduated college, I only had a W-2 job for 1 year. It was never my thing. My parents were always entrepreneurs, so I kind of had that entrepreneur chip in my head, right? And always wanted to do my own thing. So I got an accounting job right out of college 1 year. I was bored out of my mind. It was 2007, right? So and I quit my job right in the middle of 2008. Perfect timing to quit a job, right? Perfect timing to go look for a job. So I was kind of forced to go back into entrepreneurship, and it was kind of naturally what I wanted to do. And I did a few things. I started trading commodities, trading food. I did some transactions with sugar, coffee, beef, and then I started getting interested in real estate because I started seeing that all that trading, all that food is very transactional based, and I was looking for something that was would create more of a steady income, right? So I got involved in real estate. I ended up doing real estate development in Nicaragua, and I would travel weekly, either to Nicaragua or Costa Rica, which was the other country I was doing work in as well. And I would I was living in Miami at the time. I would travel, and this was back in 2013-ish, 2012, 2013. I would travel Monday through Friday, do my stuff there, work, build, and come back here. We would build condos, single family homes, and home communities. And around 2018, Nicaragua once again hit a pretty bad crisis, political, economic. There was a social uprising for political reasons against the government, and from one day to the other, the economy basically came to a stop. We were at the brink of war. We never actually got into a war, but we were very close to getting into a war, and the country just went. The economy in general just went south. There weren't any lenders.
This would have been a civil war, right? Within the country?
It would have been, yes.
Yeah.
We were, it was more of, there were more of it. So it never got past protests that were very violent, I guess. And
Sure.
some people, there were at least 300 dead, probably more, but 300 that were accounted for. That, so it was a sad time, a bad time for the country, and also for business. So we couldn't really do much more business there. Fortunately, although it was very bad, fortunately for me, it kind of hit me. It couldn't have hit me at a better time in where I was in my development projects. We were finishing off one project and about to start off another. So we were able to back out of the next project, but we were able to finish off the current project. But then after that, there was just really no future in doing development work down there because the banks weren't lending. So we would sell residential products. So our buyers couldn't buy if banks weren't lending. We couldn't get a loan if we wanted to develop more, and there just wasn't a market for it anymore. The economy, it got hit pretty bad. It was kind of like the feeling that we got back in April of 2018 was kind of the feeling we got here in March of 2020 with COVID, where we didn't know what was going to happen, and it kind of happened suddenly in a way.
Yeah.
So we got hit that happened to us and to our country at least, but we didn't really recover as we still haven't recovered. We're still in a pretty bad situation. So that's when I moved back to Miami full time. I was still living here, so it was kind of an easier transition for me because I did have a home here. All I had to do was stop traveling. Right, there was more than that. I had to close down my businesses and so on, but at least I had a home here that I can move into and a base to come to. And I had already started. I was always into multifamily investing and just real estate investing in general. So although I was developing throughout all that time in Central America, I was still investing in multifamily properties, either as a limited partner or in some cases, I had already gotten into some deals more on the active side, more on the management side, but it wasn't my full-time thing. So it was a good time to transition into this becoming just multifamily investing in general, becoming my full-time gig. So, and that's where I am now.
That is where you are. We'll get into family and things. There's a few questions. Maybe some are quick hitters and others go a little deeper. But what you mentioned residential is that what you said? Residential projects in Nicaragua? What does that look like? Were you developing like multifamily residential housing? Were you developing like neighborhoods of single family homes? What was that you were doing in Nicaragua?
Both. Mostly neighborhoods of single family homes and condo buildings. So you have multifamily for sale though, not for in the condos, right? So it wasn't like a rental building. It was more of a building that would go for sale.
Gotcha. So you would develop the asset and then sell off the individual condos or the individual or the individual homes, the single family homes or whatever. That comes to a full stop in what was it, 2018? When in 2018? April-ish of 2018, that comes to a full stop. Okay.
Yeah.
What's the state of things now in Nicaragua? What is it like right now there? Is it the same unrest? Is there still political unrest? Are there still protests? Have things calmed down? Kind of what is it now? Like, this isn't something, I'll be honest with you, that I've tracked. I'm just kind of curious what the state of things are. Is lending opened up? Is it a place where you could go invest again now?
I wouldn't recommend to go invest down there. I mean, it's not a place I would be interested in investing. The unrest is there is no unrest right now. Things have calmed down. There's no people aren't really protesting around the streets or anything like that. So there was a lot of oppression with the protest in 2018 from the government to the people that were protesting. So with that, the president, the government was at the brink of being toppled. I mean, they almost brought the government down, and the responsibility of the government at one point was just to be very oppressive with the people, right? Or just they started attacking these large gatherings and these large uprising and protest, and people got scared. I mean, they threw everyone in prison. They killed a lot of people. So it was very hard for and it died down for that reason.
Sure.
That's my opinion, at least. That's why I think it kind of settled down.
They took control. Yeah,
they took control. Yeah. They took control and just so now the country is moving along somehow, right? There is kind of like a Venezuela situation where people still do business there, people still travel there, but I guess foreign investment is not too excited about investing in the country.
Sure.
Lending has picked up, prices have not. Lending is still very strict.
Yeah, sure. Well, they're probably a bit of it on an edge, right? Like you just don't know as an international investor, you just don't know, like, is this going to happen again, right? You don't feel that the whatever roots are being grown are deep and supple enough to support whatever is right now. It could happen again, right? That's kind of what I think Venezuela is going through, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah, and then you also have a bunch of diplomatic problems where well, we just had elections, right? And the results aren't recognized by most countries. The U.S. didn't recognize the elections. They're
really,
they're not recognized. Yeah. So that and this was like when I think it was Sunday, like 4 or 5 days ago. So even there's I think there's only 3 countries at this point, well, 4 that have recognized it, and I want to say it's Russia, Cuba, Venezuela, and Bolivia. I'm not sure if there's any others.
This is pardon my ignorance. What does that mean? Not recognized. So, all right, I don't even know who the players are, but Steve and Mike are going up for election, to be the president of Nicaragua, right? Steve wins, but that election is not recognized by the United States. What does that look like? What does that mean? If you don't mind just kind of diving into that a little bit.
Yeah, I'm
or am I oversimplifying
sure.
it?
I'm not the best person to answer that question, but it basically means that well, the diplomatic relationships will continue, probably, right?
Yeah.
But it's kind of, but the U.S. does not recognize our government as the official government of the country. If they don't, it may get to that, right? It's still not there, but it may get to that, and a lot of economic sanctions are expected to happen. There was a bill that just passed Congress here in the U.S. It's called Renacer bill, and it just got signed into law by President Biden, I think 2 days ago, I want to say. And the bill is that what it basically states is unless elections in the country become fairer or they make significant changes to how elections are held, they're going to start and doing more sanctions to the country or to individuals, specifically in the government, and potentially even kicking us out of CAFTA, so CAFTA is kind of like the NAFTA version of South America, Dominican Republic, and the U.S. We have a trade agreement between the U.S., Central America, and Dominican Republic as part of it too. So we could potentially be kicked out of that agreement.
Kicked out of that. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Interesting. Now, like I said, when I've heard that term, and no idea what it means. And honestly, the one thing I wanted to ask you, this is just your opinion, dude. When you say words like unrest, violent protests, all these things, right? Like we've had that in the last few years in the United States. So with you coming from a country where you've seen that, kind of, I don't know, on the brink of war, civil war, all that stuff. And this isn't a doomsday. I'm not like a nutty, I shouldn't say it. I'm not like nuts about like, oh shit, the country's coming to an end in the United States or whatever. But are there parallels? Are there things like when you see certain news stories or certain things happening in the US or the polarization, I guess, that we have here, and you've experienced what you've experienced in Nicaragua or Venezuela, you've been closer maybe to the Venezuela thing that most people pay attention to in the US, or we're just sort of, we're in our own lives here. I don't know. Does anything kind of, do you see it as like, nah, not even close? The US just has too many checks and balances in place? Or is it like, no, yeah, some of the stuff kind of, reminiscent of what happened in Nicaragua. I mean, it's going to take a lot more than just some unrest to topple a country. I don't know. I'll let you go. Is there anything that you see that's a parallel in any way, shape, or form that you want to just sort of talk through?
Well, yeah, that's a loaded question, but so the short answer is not even close.
Okay. What's the difference?
That's the short answer. Not.
What's the difference though?
So for me, it's maybe things aren't 100% fair in the U.S., but I feel some support when I sign a contract, right? If I sign an agreement with you, I know I can go to the media. I know I can take it to court. I know I can find ways for it to work. It may not always work, but it's going to work many times.
Yeah.
In Nicaragua, that's just not the case. I mean, we sign agreements just for the hell of it, right? Because in the end, it's whoever has the better connections that's gonna win. But so going back to the civil unrest, our civil unrest was pretty much the whole country. The uprising was pretty much the whole. There were a lot of people. You look at images, and I don't know. If there were probably 500,000 people at a time, and we're a small country, right? We're our population is 6 million. Right. So you're talking about 10% of the population on the streets, or probably more than that. Yeah. But on the conservative side, I don't think we saw anything close to that here in the U.S. I don't think we saw, what's the population of the U.S.? We're like at 350 million right now.
350,
so yeah. I don't think we saw 30 million people on the streets here, right? So that would put into perspective, I think.
Yeah.
In terms of, there was large parts of the country were being affected, or I mean, I was here in Miami, and I wasn't affected by the protest. That wouldn't have happened in Nicaragua. Like if you were in Nicaragua, there's no way you wouldn't have been affected. The country shut down. You couldn't move. You couldn't. The roads were shut down. There was and a lot of people died too. People that died here too, but in relation to our population, it was the official numbers put it at least 350. I think 348, 350. I think the more accurate number is closer to 1,000, 800 to 1,000 people.
Wow.
That were murdered during this uprising. So if we put into perspective the size of the protests were attacked. As simple as that. They were attacked by different groups. These groups are, in most people's opinion, are groups that support the government or even part of the government in a way, right? Like these hidden, and we won't. We don't really know who it was, but there were snipers out there shooting at the crowds, right, and stuff like that. So it was. That's why I say not even close.
Yeah.
Right. At least the experience, right? Is it worth going? I mean, the political side of it, I don't know, but the experience was definitely not even close.
No doubt, man. That's great. Yeah, no, I like to ask that question because I think this is just my opinion. If you're born and bred here, if you've never really experienced another culture, another country's situation, the only exposure I have as my wife is a Dominican national. She was born in the Dominican, so I have some sense. I've gotten some sense of like their history. Like I had no idea about like Trujillo and the ethnic cleansings in the 50s and 60s and like crazy stuff. I wouldn't have known any of that if not for being married to her. So we kind of get in our heads being here about like, oh my God, the news cycle especially amps it up, how bad it is, no matter what side of the aisle you're on, right? Or what side of an issue you're on, how bad it is. But then when I hear like my wife or some of her family members that have lived in another country where there's like, this stuff amped up, like it threatens to take a country down. I always wonder the perspective. Like that's what I'm asking for, I guess, essentially, is like
Okay,
give
so my
perspective here.
perspective,
Yeah.
if I could tell my perspective, I think we are blessed to be in this country, and I understand that a lot of people would like the country to, or the U.S. to go in a different direction, and I understand why.
Yeah,
Or some
sure.
people are happy with the direction it's going. Some people want it, and there's differences. I understand that, but it's also sometimes I think we forget, and I include myself because I'm also I consider myself an American. I'm a U.S. citizen.
Yeah.
Sometimes we forget that we're actually blessed, and we're in a great, awesome situation. I mean, it's the land of opportunity. It really is.
Amazing. No, I agree. It's funny. It's just I love hearing that perspective.
Yeah.
Just like what you're coming from. Give me the view of it from having seen what you've seen in a country like Nicaragua. What's going on, everybody? It's Jamie. I'm jumping in real quick here because some people are listening to this podcast thinking, man, I hear this guest, I hear what they're talking about. This whole GoBundance thing sounds pretty cool. I'd love to be a part of that. And I would say to you, if you are qualified to be part of GoBundance, you're a millionaire or accredited at the very least, jump onto GoBundance.com and just put your application in. You'll get on a call. It might even be with me where we can talk about what you're trying to do, what you're trying to accomplish, and what it is to be part of this community in depth. Would love to have a conversation with you about that. It's been just so life-changing for me. And for those of you out there that are saying, yeah, sounds great, I would if I were a millionaire or if I were accredited, but I'm not there yet. We've got that now. We've built a program and I run it. I love being a part of it. I left my job for it, called Emerge and Ascend. Emerge is where you got to start. It's a 12-week intensive sprint goal setting course. You're going to get curriculum every week. You're going to get live intervention every week. You're going to get connection with GoBundance members every week. You're going to get accountability from like-minded people every week. Jump into that, kill it, and we invite you to Ascend, which is essentially the GoBundance mastermind without the $1 million requirement. And we actually even add in coaching to help folks find their purpose, their mission, their values. It's intense. It's everything all wrapped in one. So again, if you're a millionaire or you're at least accredited and you're wondering about this GoBundance thing and that shouldn't I, just apply. Throw your name in. You lose nothing. All you do is put your name into an application form, you get on a phone call, and then you decide. If you're not yet at that $1 million mark, look at Emerge, GoBundance.com/emerge. And what you can do as well is drop my name in there, Jamie, Jamie, and we'll knock $200 off the tuition for Emerge. Jump in there and we'll get you started on your journey toward being a whole life millionaire, toward getting to GoBundance, whatever you want. People in Emerge, people in Ascend, people in GoBundance all report back often the changes it's made in their lives financially, relationally, and everywhere else. So go to GoBundance.com, check all of that out, see wherever you are, dive into that particular area of GoBundance, and we'd love to see you inside of the tribe. Now, back to our show. By the way, France, where did France come in? You have a French passport.
My grandfather was French.
So you automatically get one?
Yep.
Oh, look at that. My business partner's French, so he'll be happy to know there's another French passport. He lives down in where you are in Miami, so.
Cool.
All right, let's pivot a bit to what you're doing now. So you mentioned being on the LP side, the GP side of some deals. What's your focus right now? Where are you growing toward? What are you trying to accomplish right now from a business, financial, entrepreneurial perspective?
Yeah, so I've been, as I mentioned, pretty active on multifamily acquisitions or investing side for a few years now, and I'm focusing on building that side of my business and just buying more assets and giving this opportunity to other investors. Most of what I did before was more of a friends and family investors or just my own funds or joint ventures with different groups where we would buy the property on our own. I started realizing this is a great opportunity, not just for us, for my group, but to open it up to different investors, right? And that's the only way I can continue to grow as well, and get into bigger, better assets. And lately, I've found myself I'm in a unique position in Miami, where I'm exposed to many people from Latin America that either live here or travel here quite often, and they're familiar with the country. We speak a lot of Spanish here, and I'm focusing now more on. I'm starting to focus on having Latin American investors from the different so for example, I'll give you an example. Peru, people in Peru are very nervous right now because they just had elections, and I don't want to get political, but so the government that won, or the president that won is more is on the left, right? So he's kind of like they're worried that his trends are going to be communist, or it's going to become the next Venezuela, the next Cuba, or whatever. So they don't want they want to get money into this country, right? They want to there's no other. This is a safe haven for if you're not from here and you're in Latin America, you see this as a safe haven. I put my money in the U.S. and it's going to be safe. I'm not going to lose it. Yes, there's inflation, there's all this, right? But I'm not going to lose it there. At least it's there. It's nobody's going to take it away, right? Because historically, the way most of Latin Americans invest in the U.S. is they buy a condo in Miami, right? I think there's a better way. I think that it's better to invest in income-producing property, commercial real estate, multifamily, or at least it's a good alternative, right? If you're not going to be using the condo as a second home, at least. So I'm bringing this opportunity to the different to that profile of investor, and we're growing. I've bought 4 properties this year, 4 multifamily properties this year. Some investors have been domestic, Latin American background, but domestic, right? And I'm now starting to tap into the actual international Latin Americans that aren't domestically based.
I love it. No, that's great. And there's a lot of purpose behind that for you, right? You feel a draw to help in this regard, which is amazing. You joined GoBundance earlier this year, 2021, as we record this. What, if anything, has been the impact of that in this space, what you're doing, or just generally speaking for you?
So to me, GoBundance, it's just given me a view of and that's, so I've been an entrepreneur all my life. It's very lonely being an entrepreneur. It can be. I mean, anybody that's been there will probably agree with that it can get very lonely. So this group has definitely filled that void that I've had, and going back, everybody's so open. All the Go Bros are so open and so willing to help. I've also tried to help as many as I can, or at least share my experience with as many as I can, so that we just leverage each other's experience, right? And not just in business, but in life in general. So it's been a great experience. Going back to how it's helped my growth. Well, the last property I closed on was actually it was last Friday in Charleston, and it was our GoPod. So our GoPod is our, you can probably explain better than I can what a GoPod is, Jamie.
Yeah, your accountability pod. Yeah, your kind of core group of guys that you meet up with and kind of drive one another toward what you're trying to accomplish. So yeah.
Correct. Yeah. So we put ourselves that goal when we first started the GoPod, to kind of find a deal together and buy a deal together. And I found that deal in Charleston, and we closed on it together. We each are doing different things and we're trying it out.
That's cool.
We're getting to know each other better. Where one of the guys is local to Charleston. Great guy, great GoBro. So there's definitely tons of value in.
Yeah, no, I'm curious about that. I know. Yeah, there's. It feels like there's a growing group down where you are as well. Like I think of Carlos and some of these other guys that have jumped in recently. Yeah, I just wondered, for you, like kind of what the experience has been. That's great to hear. That's great to hear that you and your pod are investing together. That's so cool. I love hearing those stories. So
yeah.
Very cool. Let's jump over to the one sheet and talk a little bit about the different pillars, if you will, of life. We're going to start with the horizontal income pillar for you. So right now, how many lines of horizontal income have you? I heard you bought 4 properties, but I'll let you. How many lines of horizontal income do you have coming in right now?
All right. So I am opening it up right now, and I have 19
lines of horizontal income. Wow. Yeah. And from a percentager standpoint, do you have what percentager you are as far as financial freedom percentage?
Yes, I am at, I should know this by memory, but I'm pulling it up.
That's okay.
Let me see. I am at 82%.
82%. So you're almost at that 100% mark. For those that don't understand that, that means his passive income, his horizontal income covers 82% of his monthly expenses. I'm curious, do you count expenses as like base level expenses, like in order for me to live, eat, kind of that? Or is it like, no, I include fun, travel, paying for GoBundance, all that stuff? Is that all in your expenses when you
I
calculate
everything?
everything?
Yeah, I include everything. I include travel. I expenses is what it takes to have the life I have today.
Got it. Got it. To have the exact life you have today. So you're 82%
Yeah.
of the way there and closing fast. I love it, man. That's amazing.
Yeah. Not the life that I would have to downgrade to, which would be fine. I mean, if I wouldn't have an issue with that, but it's not based on the life I would have to downgrade to survive. Yeah, no.
Gotcha. On the age-defying health pillar, I've seen you live. I've seen you shirtless. You're in good shape. What's the daily diet and exercise look like?
So that's in there. So I do have that as one of my goals to improve on that. I could be doing better. My the last time I did my one sheet was we do it quarterly in our pod. Yeah. So I'm due for one right now, and that's probably going to be one I'm going to get a lot of beef from my pod, because I haven't really improved much. I've been busy, which is not an excuse, right? But I've been busy, and I guess that's an area I can improve on and give me that priority again. I try to look for ways to be healthy where I enjoy it. I don't like the gym. I'll put it out there. I hate going to the gym. So I have two options. I either find a way to enjoy the gym, or I find ways to be active that I enjoy, right? I love to skate. That's not an option here in Miami. It doesn't snow here. And we don't have mountains. So I've gotten big into tennis. I play tennis now 4 or 5 times a week, and that's most of my activity, and it's worked. It's kept me in shape, and it's kept me well. I think I'm happy with it. When I travel, I don't play, and I've been traveling quite a bit lately. So, but that's
I like that. What about diet? What do you do for diet? Intermittent fasting? You doing anything specific, or some things you avoid or focus on?
So my wife just gave birth. We have a 3-month-old son. So I don't. You're a father, Jamie. So you know what it is to be around a pregnant wife or wife that's breastfeeding, and it's hard. It's challenging to get your wife to align with your eating habits when they're in that when they're going through that stage. But there's nothing specific I'm doing. I just try to. I try to keep it simple. I try to eat healthy every day. I try to eat things like fish, and stay away from fried foods, stay away from French fries, fast food. I try to eat at home as much as possible, and just see, I keep it simple. I don't really count my calories or anything like that, but I just try to keep it simple. And
makes sense.
And that's,
moderation, right? Moderation is the key to all of it. So you mentioned the family. Married how long, and how many kids now?
Married 5 years, 2 kids. One's 3 and almost 3, and the other one's 3 and almost 4 months.
Yeah, very cool. Boys, girls?
Both boys.
Both boys.
And one actually shares the second one, the youngest one, is Sebastian. And I understand
that's
your
right.
son is Sebastian too.
That's right. I was going to say, we talked about this because we were both boy dads. I remember we were saying that we were driving somewhere in Miami together, but both boy dads, because you had the second one on the way when he was, or was he just, no, he was on the way.
He was on the way. Yes.
Right?
Yes.
He was on the way. And it was June. So she would have been like 8 months or something like that at that point, I think. Right. So 7 or 8 months. But you knew it was a boy, and then that's right. We each have a Sebastian, which is really cool. I love that. You have better hair than I do, though, so you win. On balance, you win. So
I was going to say but I'll keep it to myself.
I love it. What's your wife do? Does she work or stay at home?
She works, but she has a lot of flexibility at her job. She works for a PR firm down here in Miami, and
gotcha.
She just manages the digital marketing department. She's I think her position is vice president of digital marketing.
Probably know that. I would say I think my wife's job. I don't know. She does something.
But they're very flexible with her. She's on maternity now. She won't start working again until at least January. I think. But
That's
yeah.
very cool. How about life happiness? What's your life happiness index on your one sheet look like? And what category
So
might you be working on most?
okay, so my life happiness index is at 7.2.
Pretty good.
Yeah. So I am working on definitely diet and exercise. Those are two things that I can improve on. Family. I'm very close to my family, and not just including my immediate family, my kids and my wife, but all this pivoting in life has definitely put a strain and it's taken a lot of time, right? To change from the developing work I was doing in Latin America to now doing multifamily, and now there's I've had to transition and I'm happy that that has happened, but I've had to transition a few times, and I feel that that has affected my family relationship. I get along great with all of them, but I would like to meet with them more, have lunch with them more. So that's one of the goals I have on my one sheet, which is
Is this family that's here? I know you have family in Nicaragua still. Is it family that's here that you're more focused on, or both?
both. So,
Both.
well, there's two parts of that. First, my immediate family, my kids, I want to spend more time with them,
Sure.
take them more to the park, stuff like that, do more activities with them, which I'm working on, and I'm getting better at that. I used to get home and be on the phone or something, sending emails.
Yeah, I go up and
6
down
to
on that, but
10
yeah, I feel
p.m.
you.
or whatever. So yeah, so I try to respect those family time blocks that I'm starting to build on my schedule. And the other thing that would happen is, since I live here in Miami, and my parents are in Nicaragua. I have my grandmother's in Nicaragua. I have a couple uncles down there too, and I probably didn't call them enough. Or just a simple call and say hi and check in on them, how they're doing, and tell them about what I'm doing and about my life, and then maybe doing like a FaceTime of my son with my grandmother, little stuff like that. That's the kind of thing that is important to me. But if I don't remember to do them, I just won't do them. I was looking the last time at my one sheet. I hadn't had a Zoom call with my or FaceTime call with my grandmother in quite a while, right? She's getting pretty old, right? So I'm being held accountable to do that type of stuff and show her my son. I want her to be a part of that virtually, which is the only way to do it right now. But it works.
It works. That's the beauty of the world we live in today, right? Like through COVID and everything, you learn like, you can still at least stay connected. Imagine this happening in 1952. Like we don't have these FaceTime and all this other stuff that we can do. So no, I love that, man. What about contribution? Where do you tend to spend time, money, or energy from a contribution standpoint? Where do you like to give back?
So I give there's a few charities I'm involved in Nicaragua that I don't really give time to it. I just mostly donate.
Sure.
I am pulling up that part of my one sheet again. And, okay, so I contribute year to date. I've contributed 20 hours to different types of charity, and I've contributed 5% of my income. And
Nice.
so so the monetary side of the income just goes. Most of it has gone to charities in Nicaragua for purpose, like just for different causes, food, education, and clothing, which is some of the basic needs down there. Yeah.
Makes sense. Again, passion for you, purpose for you in doing all you can for folks in those areas of the world, family in those areas of the world. How about adventure? Are you going to Park City? Are you able? Are you a young kid?
I am. So I go to Park City all the time. I have a condo there. I have a place there. So I go there 5 times, 6 times a year. I try to go as much as I can for just for recreational purposes.
Skiing.
I love skiing. Yeah, that's my thing. I love skiing, so I'm not going to miss that one.
You bringing the family or just you?
I am planning on bringing the family. Yeah. We're still working on that. But so is there going to be I think there's not going to be the family side of it this time, right? The fan abundance.
Then, but yeah, I don't think so. It's not going to be in front of it. So it's just going to be the event itself. But I know still a lot of guys are bringing family. I would, but we're going to the Dominican to see my wife's family from like late December to early February. And then I'm flying out for the week to go to Park City. I don't know if you know this, but there's like zero good ways to get from Punta Cana to Salt Lake City. It's like 86 hours, 9 airports to go from there. So I'm burning like one day just traveling. But
Yeah.
otherwise, my family would go. They all went to Steamboat. We didn't do Fam Abundance and Steamboat, but we all went to Steamboat, and there was tons of families there. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. No. Yeah. So I don't think they're going. I spoke to my wife the other day, and now that I remember, and I think that for this trip, for this GoBundance trip, if I take them, I'm not going to be able to focus as much on the value of
1,000%.
GoBundance. So
This is your first one, right? This is your first GoBundance event?
It is. Yes, it's my first GoBundance event. I wasn't able to make it to the summer one.
I always say that to guys, like, they're like, oh, the event, I'm thinking about bringing my family. Like, if it's your first one, there's a draw, obviously, of like, I feel bad. Let me get home. So if you're hanging out in the lobby at 11, midnight, 1 o'clock, having a beer, talking and getting deep on a topic, like you're not going to do that because you feel like you have to get home. After your first couple, 3 events, where you can kind of settle in, you're more, then I feel like bringing the family is good. But unless the family's like, you're not going without me, then, take what you can get. But I have said that to a lot of guys, like, man, go to the first event by yourself, just so you're unfettered. Like there's no obstruction to you just fully engaging. I hate to use family as obstruction, but you get my point, I think. So
yeah, no, absolutely. There's a time and place for everything, right? And for me, at least, this trip is more of it's a GoBundance thing.
Yep, 100%. So let's dive into this last question. This is from the GoBundance card game. And by the way, thanks for your patience. For those that are like about 5 minutes into this, my power went out. Where I sit right now as we record this, it is a gorgeous fall day outside. There's no rain, no snow, no nothing. Everything powered down. Reboot this, reboot that. So Bernard, I appreciate your patience with all of this, man. So here's the question. It is what's that?
There's a second time we do this for those.
Yeah, the second time through. Thankfully, it was only a few minutes into the first one, but
yeah.
All right, so the very relevant piece here is it's the 6 of hearts. Actually, that means nothing. So here's the question. If you lost everything you have, how long will it take you to make it back, and how would you do it?
So I don't envision. So the first thing that came to mind when you asked that question is, okay, I lose everything I have. That's the material stuff, but I don't envision losing my family.
Sure.
So the answer to that would be 0 time, because my family would still be there.
I love that. Yeah.
So that's my answer.
I love that, man. Like, look, when I left my job, and you don't have, because you were like, you got the entrepreneurial bug way earlier. You always were. But when I left my job, that was something I had to come to terms with, or I had come to terms with. Like the fear of leaving your job, until you look at it, is that I'm going to lose it all, right? That I'm going to lose it all. I'm going to be, out of work and out of money, and I can't operate or live. But when my wife and I talked about, like, we can get jobs for 50 grand each if we needed to. Like, we could live in a 3-bedroom apartment or a 2-bedroom apartment, but we'll still be, right? Like, that's, to your point, that's everything. All the other stuff is fluff, right? But we get so tied to the idea of lifestyle and everything else. And of course, we don't want to lose it, but that's such a powerful thing. I love what you just said there. I think that's the best answer. I didn't expect that, but that's the best answer to that question that you can give. You'll still have it all.
I've definitely haven't seen many. Yes, money can help with stress, and it can help with happiness if you know how to use it.
Yeah.
But in my life, there hasn't really been a correlation between money and happiness that I can, not that I've measured it or anything, but if I look back, I don't think I've been at different stages financially, right? And no, it's maintaining low levels of stress is definitely very important for me for happiness, and having a loving family that loves me and supports me no matter what. That's what happiness is for me, at least.
Good way to end it, my friend. Good way to end it. Let's do this. How can people get in touch with you or find out what you're doing, or where do you want to direct folks to learn more about you?
So they can email me. My direct email is bpierson, BPIERSON @equitypartners.com, and equity is EQUITI, so equity with an I at the end. That I stands for international. right? That's why
Ah,
I
I
misspelled
like
the
that.
equity. Yeah, it's the international equity. So EQUITIpartners.com. So B Pierson at equitypartners.com. You can go to my website as well, www.equity with an I again, partners.com. And yeah, I'm on LinkedIn, Facebook, all the different social medias. You can message me there, reach out there, and I'll be happy to connect with anyone.
Love it, man. Appreciate you being on. Thanks for dealing with the glitching and all the other crap that we started with at the beginning of this. But good to connect with you, man. Good to see you again.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, thanks, Jamie. It was great being on this.
Sure thing.
Thanks for inviting me.
Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Let us know down in the comments and make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell so you can be informed on the next episode and other content right here on this channel. Thank you.